on, folks? It's Landon from Today's Tech, and let's talk about the Galaxy Watch 4 series. This year, we finally get Galaxy Watches that are running Wear OS, something that is quite long overdue, but better late than never. And we get Samsung's all-new bioactive sensor that brings some new health tracking to the table. And you'll notice what we have here is Samsung merging two lines of smartwatches. So we have the Galaxy Watch 4 and the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic. And if you've been following closely, historically, both models of Galaxy Watches have always had the physical bezel. But this year it's reserved for the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic, and they've just gone ahead and revamped the Galaxy Watch Active 2, and that has now evolved into the Galaxy Watch 4. Now, outside of the very first smartwatch from Samsung, the Galaxy Gear, these are the first Samsung smartwatches to run Wear OS instead of Samsung's Tizen operating system. So this is pretty significant. Not only is it now running an operating system more consistent with Android, but Samsung's new One UI watch skin also helps make it feel more consistent with your Galaxy phone. And I'll get to some of that in a bit. But I feel like this was a really important step to help both Google and Samsung really compete with Apple Watch and Watch OS in the smartwatch space. So here's what the Galaxy Watch 4s bring to the table. Well, first and foremost, let's make sure we're clear on the differences between the 4 and the 4 Classic. The main difference is the bezel. That's the portion of the watch face that surrounds the display. And on the Galaxy Watch 4, there's a touch bezel. So to navigate through the operating system, you just drag your finger around the bezel, or you can just swipe on the display itself. Now, the 4 Classic has a physical bezel that you rotate to navigate the interface. And because of that, it is larger, thicker, and heavier than the 4. So naturally, I went and got the largest and the smallest versions of the Galaxy Watch 4. So this is the 40mm Galaxy Watch 4 in kind of like a rose gold, and this is a very significant design update over the Active 2. This design looks so sleek, and it's like a perfectly circular puck held up by some sleek aluminum rails. I mean, I'm really digging this design. It looks a lot more mature than the Active 2 and more stylish than the Active 2, and I surprisingly really liked the smaller form factor. I don't think it's ever looked this good. It barely takes up any space on your wrist, and the display I feel like is still large enough to see what you need to see, and I appreciate the fact that the display is completely flat. That combined with the chamfered edge around the display makes for a really nice touch that I think complements the overall design. Now, it's definitely too small for me, but I think it's the perfect size for someone who likes small watches or just has a small wrist. But I'm definitely a fan of the design for sure. And then this guy here is the 46mm stainless steel 4 Classic with the physical bezel that I enjoy much more than the touch bezel. It gives you nice and subtle feedback with every rotation, and it kind of alleviates you from having to touch the screen as much. And plus, it just looks elegant to me. But design-wise, there's not so much of a difference from the Galaxy Watch 4, which I'm totally fine with. I feel like there's only so much you can change with a watch design, but there is one significant design change over the previous models. The sensors on the back responsible for all the health measurements actually protrude farther this time around, so they come into much better contact with your wrist. And then they redesigned the Sport Loop band, and it has a limited range of motion. So it makes the watch band have a much rounder fit on your wrist, and it just feels way more comfortable and a little bit more natural. And the band itself feels very smooth, and it just tucks right into itself. So I'm definitely appreciating the step up in the comfort department. And they also went back to the flat buttons, which fits with this design, but overall, they really just went with what works, and I can't complain. Now, probably the biggest draw of the Galaxy Watch 4 series is the fact that they now run Wear OS. And we knew this was coming back in May when Google announced that they had partnered with Samsung for Wear OS 3, which is really a hybrid version called Wear OS powered by Samsung, which totally makes sense. It takes the best of Wear OS and the best of Tizen and then merges it into a more cohesive operating system. Samsung has clearly been out here doing this on a grander scale for a long period of time, but there's always been one pretty glaring feature missing from Galaxy Watches, and that is app support. So Running Wear OS, of course, means access to the Google Play Store. So finally, we can have Google Maps on our wrist. Let us please rejoice. No, I'm just kidding. All jokes aside, there are finally apps available, and you can search for apps to download that are already on your phone. Or when you go to download a new app, you can just make sure it downloads on both your phone and your watch, which means much better integration and continuity on the Galaxy Watches just by switching from Tizen to Wear OS. Now, even still, it's not the robust Play Store that we're used to on our phones. There still really isn't a large variety of apps available. A lot of them tend to lean towards health and fitness tracking. And it's not like I'm looking for a plethora of apps to use on this tiny little watch screen, but it'd be nice to have a few more that tackle convenience. For example, I disarm and unlock my front door through the Vivint app. So every time I'm about to leave, I have to pull my phone out, whereas on the Apple Watch, there's a Vivint app. So hopefully in the near future, we start to see more than just health and fitness apps available. Heck, even the Google Home app would be nice, but let's be honest. I know you're still hype about Google Maps on the wrist. It gives you nice and subtle vibrations as your turns are coming up, and it just comes in clutch for sure. However, beware that it does not work when you use Android Auto, unfortunately. But aside from Google Maps, there's also the Google Fit app, YouTube Music, Google Keep, Google Pay, just lots of Google. And there's now 16 gigs of storage for all these new apps that are available. Except there's a pretty crucial Google app that's missing that I was really hoping for. And that's Google Assistant. Unfortunately, to much dismay until further notice, we cannot change the default assistant from Bixby, and we also can't set the default payment service to Google Pay. So right now, you can get to Samsung Pay by holding down the back button and Bixby by holding down the home button, and there's no change in it. But other than the Play Store and the slight tweak to navigation, which I'll get to in a sec, that's really the extent of any traces of Google or Wear OS on these watches. Literally all of the other portions of the UI look just like they did on Tizen, which is not a bad thing. Samsung had already dialed in the look and feel of One UI, but this latest version is the closest representation of what One UI looks and feels like on Galaxy phones, and it by far has the best continuity yet. The settings menu has the same familiar design language and options and whatnot, and then things like reminders and alarms sync between your watch and your phone. Now, as I just mentioned, there is a slightly new way to navigate from the watch face. Apps are now a swipe up from the watch face instead of a button, and you can now swipe right from the left edge to go back. So the top button becomes the home button, and the bottom button can either be a back button or take you to your recent app screen, which really doesn't take long to get used to. And most of the watch faces are the same, but there are a few new ones for the most part with an emphasis on graphic animations. And you see a little bit more animations throughout the UI thanks to the new Exynos W920 processor and the 50% increase in RAM. But on a side note, we see that Apple updates or at least tweaks or optimizes the processor in the Apple Watch on a yearly basis. However, this is the first brand new processor from Samsung in 3 years. And I'm really not noticing an improvement in speed, but the UI itself feels a little bit more mature, more deliberate, and it's just not as flat as before. Oh, and here's a couple of pro tips for you. First, you want to make sure to download Gboard. Then you'll want to go to settings and set the keyboard input as Gboard, and then also change the text-to-speech engine to Google Speech. Google is simply far superior to Samsung when it comes to speech recognition, as I'm sure you're already aware. And Gboard is a better option because it brings swipe typing, which is so much better than the old school T9 keyboard on this tiny little screen. Now, as far as health tracking, there are 3 new features on these guys. We'll start with Samsung's new bioactive sensor that enables legit body composition scans. Samsung spent a good amount of time talking about how it works at Unpacked, and what stood out to me was the fact that they said it was 98% accurate when compared to the industry standard DEXA scans, which if that really turns out to be the case, I'm not sure if anyone has actually compared their DEXA results, but That's a pretty monumental achievement to make that available on a $299 watch. And by the way, my scans have at least been realistic and consistent, so I'm definitely a fan of this addition to the field as someone who pays attention to this type of data. Now, the second new feature is snore detection. So Samsung partnered with a company called Sleep Cycle, and you just wear your watch to sleep and keep your phone charging nearby, and your phone will then make 30-second recordings of your snoring throughout the night, which is pretty embarrassing, but still dope. And then lastly, you can now get blood oxygen measurements while you sleep. So with these three features combined, Samsung has definitely stepped it up a notch in the health tracking department. And fitness tracking also got an upgrade, and it now supports over 100 workouts from sports to specific workouts. But my one gripe is the fact that there aren't enough all-encompassing workouts available. So Pete, there are options like planks, sit-ups, crunches, but no option for just core training. Well, not all core training includes planks, sit-ups, or crunches. And there's no HIIT option or simply strength training or weightlifting. So that's very disappointing. Who wants to have to stop and start workouts as they progress through their routine? So I hope they start to add more sort of all-encompassing workouts in addition to what they have now for those who are very, very specific about their workouts. But I've been able to use this 4 Classic to work out 5 days a week since I got it during launch week, and it seems to be pretty accurate outside of the occasional heart rate drop off during a workout, which is apparently caused by my excessive sweating, but for the most part, it's working as intended, and I'm glad I have it. So in total, there's now heart rate monitoring, sleep tracking with sleep stages and sleep score, blood oxygen measurements throughout the day, plus while sleeping, snore detection, ECG measurements, stress measurements, VO2 max, body composition measurements, hand wash detection, and of course, fitness tracking. So Samsung is just piling on the number of health and fitness tracking features and bringing real meaning to Apple saying that the future of health is on your wrist. Oh, and I almost forgot about battery life. These guys are definitely 1 to 2 day battery life smartwatches. I have the always on mode on and it's lasting me a day, so I'm charging every day, same as my Galaxy Watch 3. No improvements on the battery front. So all in all, the Galaxy Watch 4s are not a huge update over the Galaxy Watch 3s. The main improvements lie in health tracking and the addition of Google. So should you upgrade from the Galaxy Watch 3? Nah, probably not. It's not that drastic of an upgrade, but I would certainly upgrade from the first Galaxy Watch or the Galaxy Watch Active 2. It's much more significant of an upgrade from those models, and the pricing is on point this year, starting at $299, specifically when you compare to its main competitor, Apple Watch Series 7, which starts at $399. So I'm very pleased with the Galaxy Watch 4s. There's tangible improvements and upgrades over the previous models, and I really like the direction that Samsung and Google are headed in the smartwatch space. So let me know what you guys think about the Galaxy Watch 4s with a comment down below. And with that, thank you so much for supporting the channel by sticking around until the end. Always appreciated. And if you found the video helpful or informative, then definitely subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an upload. Alrighty guys, thanks again for watching. Peace and love.